Hi, Assalamualaikum. So in this video we will learn about our last topic for this subject, which is accounting for liabilities. So later on in this topic kita akan belajar and you guys will know how to define the different liability. Different liability ni ada 3. Nanti kita akan go through balik shares, suku and deposit. So ketiga-tiga ni adalah one of the liabilities in the companies. Okay, nanti kita akan go through balik, even though dalam topik 8 kita sebenarnya dah belajar kan regarding shares and suku ni. And then after that you akan tahu how to describe the accounting treatment for liabilities and prepare the statements of financial position and income statement that are extracted for deposit and investment transactions. Okay, first thing kita akan tengok dulu what is the meaning of liabilities. But I'm sure you guys mesti dah tahu maksud liabilities tu sendiri, isn't it? It is like an obligation of the company. Okay, macam korang tengok dekat dalam slide ni, the meaning of liabilities itself is like a company's legal debt or obligations on the cost of business operations. Means liabilities ni is a debt, so it is an obligations of the companies, adalah satu bebanan lah kiranya kan. And biasanya liabilities ni akan settled over time if the transfer of economic benefit including money, goods and services dah bayar lah segala obligations of the company tu. And there are 2 types of liabilities. One is short-term liability and another one is long-term liability. As you guys know, short-term liability is when the debt of the company is expect to pay within 1 year. Means short-term liability ni is something debt yang dia bagi period less than 1 year. Okay, kalau short term tu less than 1 year, of course long term liability is more than 1 year. Okay, and dia untuk short term liability ni dia dah bagilah the example of short term liabilities. One is like short term bank loan, accounts payables, tax payables and like many more. And as for long term liability, it's like debentures, long term bank loans, bond payables or many more. So any types of liability that is like more than 1 year, kita categorize it as long term liability. But if it is less than 1 year, kita categorize it as short term loan. Short term liability. Sekarang okay, kan kita saya cakap liabilities ada 3, right? And one of it is these shares. Macam chapter sebelum ni, chapter 8 yang accounting for investment, shares ni adalah sesuatu yang boleh bagi benefit to investors, isn't it? Dan untuk chapter 8 tu is something yang on the investor side. So macam investors point of view. So dia adalah yang chapter sebelum ni sesuatu yang kita record dia punya profit kan. Untuk chapter 9 ni dia on the company side. So whoever invest in the companies tu means sekarang ni ada obligation to pay back the investors the profit yang supposedly to be distribute every year tu. So kalau korang nak bezakan between topic 8 and topic 9, topic 8 tu is on investor side and topic 9 is on company side. Okay, even though it's the same, but it is like a different point of view lah. Untuk shares, okay, now untuk share macam saya cakap, shares adalah something regarding the ownership, isn't it? Right, ownerships of the shares of the company. So untuk someone yang wants to own the shares, it must be the business that selling the shares tu must be halal. And the shares of the company are negotiables only if the company owns some illiquid asset. Okay, condition ni kat dalam chapter 9 ada 2 saja, but you can still refer to chapter 8 if you guys wants to read more details on the conditions of the shares. So but the basic terms of shares ni you guys know it is like regarding when the someone wants to invest in the shares, means whoever buying the shares of the company means that the one yang beli tu ada own ataupun ada ownership in the asset and the liability of the companies yang dibeli tadi tu lah, kan? Itu adalah shares. Now suku pun one of the liabilities. If someone issuing a suku and then the investors bought the suku, so the one yang issued suku to the investors tu, dia ni ada obligation, means that dia kena provide atau distribute the profit to the investors later on ataupun at the maturity date. So now suku ni pun adalah part of the liabilities of the company yang issue the bond, right? So suku apa yang dia mention dekat dalam slide ni, ini adalah benda-benda yang kita dah belajar dalam topik 8 before ni, kan? Suku tu is Islamic bond. Islamic bond, isn't it? So Islamic bond. And kita recap balik lah. It is like a certificate of paper yang represent the ownerships of the asset. Okay, whoever bought the paper or whoever bought the bond tu means dia ada ownerships of the asset lah kiranya, right? And then that is suku, the second liabilities. And the next liabilities, and ni semua kita dah belajar jugalah, types of suku in chapter 8, isn't it? We have 3 types of suku. One is istisna, mudarabah and musyarakah, and another one is murabahah. And secara detailnya kita dah belajar dah keempat-empat suku ni dalam chapter 8, kan? Dia punya double entry, dia punya like accounting treatments, all of it kita dah belajar in chapter 8. And this one is only like the explanation, ataupun if you guys wants to more information on the suku istisna ke mudarabah atau musyarakah, korang boleh baca di slide lah. Okay, untuk deposit. Okay, deposit ni kalau secara general saya nak bagi tahu ataupun nak fahamkan korang, deposit ni is something yang kita simpan duit, betul tak? Macam ayat yang kita selalu guna dengan deposit ni is like macam ni. Oh, aku nak deposit duit aku dalam bank lah, macam tu. So it means that when we are saving our money in any bank account, means when we save that money in the account, kita ni ada hak untuk keluarkan atau masukkan duit di dalam akaun kita. That is deposit means, ataupun secara like generalnya lah. But there is like different types of Islamic banking deposit. Okay, one is like saving deposit yang biasa kita buat dalam harian kita tu dengan bank account kita. And one is like current deposit, another one is term deposit, and last one is investment deposit. And kita akan go through one by one of setiap jenis deposit ni nanti, and korang juga akan belajar macam mana cara dia punya accounting treatment for each of the deposit ni nanti. Okay, Untuk saving and current, dia punya types of deposit akan kita tengok untuk contract card, which is this is loan, and YDR kan, saving, custody, isn't it, and also mudharabah, one of the partnership contract. And then for term deposit, kita akan tengok wakalah unrestricted investment, mudharabah general investment, and commodity murabahah. Untuk investment, kita ada dua, mudharabah special investment and wakalah restricted investment. Okay, now kita move to saving deposit and current deposit. Generally, for saving deposit ni is macam kita punya savings account harian kita tau, yang biasa CMB Clicks lah, Maybank to you lah, tu yang kita selalu hari-hari keluarkan dan masukkan duit at any time. So that is like a general meanings of saving deposit that permits customer to deposit and withdraw their money at any time and does not require any minimum balance in the deposit account. But as for current deposit, biasanya dia juga dipanggil demand deposit tau. So di mana bank akan offer users safekeeping of their cash deposit and the choice of to be paid in the full upon demand. Current deposit ni biasanya kan kita put the money in the current deposit, but when we want to withdraw that money, probably kita keluarkan menggunakan check, and it is not like by cash. So biasanya kita masukkan duit di dalam current account untuk kita purchase something that tak boleh bagi, ataupun bila kita wants to purchase that thing, kita tak boleh purchase in cash lah. Kiranya kita kena purchase, kita kena bagi by checks. So we have to put like some amounts of money in that current account in order to keluarkan check. So that check is probably the amount or the figures, the money in that check is the money yang ada dalam kita punya current account. That is current deposit, and the main like difference between saving deposit and current deposit is that saving deposit tu kita akan keluar and withdraw deposit and withdraw the money at any time, and kita keluarkan by cash, tak ada minimum value langsung, right? As for current deposit, probably kita masukkan memang untuk safekeeping, memang untuk saving, but kita gunakan untuk kita beli sesuatu, demand for that things, yang probably kita tak boleh bayar that thing in cash. Okay, kena bayar in check. Okay, based on Syariah principles, saving deposit and current deposit ni ada boleh in the forms of card, which is loan in English, YDR, which is this one is safe custody, right? And mudharabah saving deposit. Mudharabah ni part of the partnership, kita dah belajar tu banyak kali kan. So one of the partnership saving deposit. And as for card ni, kan saya cakap loan tadi kan, the transfer of ownership in fungible wealth to a person upon whom it is binding to return wealth similar to it. So bila dia save ataupun dia put the money in card contract, means the money in that card tu is the money yang kita nak transfer in the, kita buat loan lah kiranya, account yang kita buat loan. So when we deposit the money in that account, means it is part of ataupun it is one of the card deposit account, right? Loan deposit account. And ada juga yang wadiah yad amanah ni, maksudnya a trust contract where the trustee will be authorized to keep the funds of the depositors in its safe custody by explicit or implicit terms. Wadiah yad amanah, dia lebih kurang macam saving account yang kita masukkan duit di dalam account itu untuk disimpan lah for the like safe custody, for the safekeeping that money, right? That one is wadiah yad amanah. So dia punya keyword is this safe custody. And untuk mudarabah deposit is an account to deposit dia like profit ke atau any like investment related account of the mudarabah itu, right? Itu adalah jenis-jenis deposit ataupun saving deposit ataupun current deposit for loan, wadiah and mudarabah. Okay. Then the second types of deposit is term deposit. Term deposit ni boleh digunakan bersama ataupun dalam komoditi murabahah, wakalah unrestricted investment deposit and mudarabah general investment account. But secara amnya, you mesti kena tahulah kan maksud term deposit itu sendiri. Term deposit tu maksudnya adalah dia sedikit berbeza dengan saving deposit and also current deposit, where for saving and current deposit diorang boleh keluarkan duit at any time, but as for term deposit they call it as terms because when we put some money in that account, we have been given some period of time. Within that period we cannot like keluarkan duit until the periods end. That is like the difference between a saving deposit, saving current deposit and terms deposit ni. So untuk term deposit digunakan bersama komoditi murabahah, it is a form of fixed deposit that comprise a series of murabahah contract that is also called as tawarruj. So untuk komoditi murabahah ni means dia sama macam term fixed deposit. Termsnya sama macam saya cakap tadi lah. Kita masukkan fixed deposit in that account dan kita akan berikan a periods of like the useful life of the contract, probably murabahah contract. So within that period kita tak boleh keluarkan duit sampai that period end. So that's why they also known as tawarruj. Sebab tawarruj kan erti kata lain dia like donation, isn't it? Right. So bila kita put that money atau put the money in the fixed deposit, means kita tak ada dapat return from that deposit until the period ends, baru kita boleh keluarkan the duit from that account. So within that period tu, it's called as tawarruj. Okay, untuk wakalah unrestricted investment deposit, unrestricted tu kita ada belajar dekat dalam chapter contract, lama dah, chapter 3 or 4, I'm not sure, tapi kita dah ada belajar. It is when the muwakil who wants to appoint wakil as the agent tu, dia tak setkan any like restrict requirement atau restrict like syarat-syarat untuk invest in certain projects. So dia bila dia bagi duit to the agent, dia cakap okay, aku tahu aku dapat profit. So dia tak ada put like some terms and condition for agent to invest in project lah kiranya. So that is the meaning of unrestricted investment deposit. So apa yang saya cakap dia dah tulis kat sini lah kan. So it is when an agency concept whereby muwakil depositors, muwakil who are the depositors, will appoint the bank as his wakil or the agent with respect to the investment of the mewakil's funds in Sharia compliance transaction. But since it is unrestricted, means the agent doesn't have any requirement to invest in any of the project. But as for Mudharabah General Investment Account, Mudharabah, again, it is a partnership contract where one is the Rob Bumal, will invest some amount of the capital in the company, and one is the Mudarib, who are the one yang akan manage the project or the company. And the terms Mudharabah General Investment Account ni is when they are provide an investment opportunity that operates under Islamic banking principles of Mudharabah. So it is an account yang give investment opportunity for Mudharabah and Mudarib tadilah, probably untuk dia orang nak exchange the profit ke using this account. Okay, boleh lah. That one is term deposit. Ada 3 jenis tadi ingat. Then kita ada investment deposit, where investment deposit ni pun ada 2 jenis. One is wakalah restricted investment deposit, another one is Mudharabah special investment account. So whoever yang going into wakalah and also Mudharabah contract ni, diorang akan menggunakan investment deposit account kedua-dua jenis ni lah. One is wakalah restricted investment deposit, and perbezaan antara wakalah unrestricted and wakalah restricted ni saya dah bagi tahu tadi. Restricted is when the agent tu kena follows all of the terms and condition yang mewakil or the depositors bagi tahu dia tadi tu. So dia tak boleh suka-suka invest atau use the money of the depositors untuk perkara atau investment activity lain lah. Dia kena follow dia punya depositors. Then dia kata it is same characteristic with wakalah unrestricted, except the former only allows the wakil to use the invested funds within the restriction of the fund scheme. Saya dah explain tadi dah. And then as for Mudharabah Special Investments Account, it is when the Rokbumal will be advised on where the funds will be invested, what is the minimum amount that they can invest in the projected return, and what is the loyalty risk that comes with it. Kalau korang baca dia punya like explanation, you guys know the Rokbumal ni dah restrict kan kat mana nak invest, kat mana the minimum amount. So dia like the same meaning as Mudharabah restricted investments account. So kalau korang tak boleh macam nak ingatlah Mudharabah Special Investment Account ni, korang ingat dia korang ingat dia punya nama kena sama, dia punya nama Mudharabah Special Investment Account tu kena sama, but dia punya explanation tu sama macam Mudharabah restricted types of contract. Okay, where all of the terms semua kena follow Rokbumal lah, and restricted to what Rokbumal wants lah. Okay, that one is investment deposit. Teori kita dah baca. Now kita kena go through pula lah. Kan tadi Mudharabah ada 2 jenis. Satu unrestricted and another one restricted. Dan dua-dua Mudharabah ni adalah under investment account tadi kan. Kita dah explain yang tadi tu. And then dia cakap there are at least 2 types of Islamic investment account, which is unrestricted Mudharabah and restricted Mudharabah. And in Arabic they call is Mudharabah mutlaqah and also Mudharabah muqayyadah. Untuk unrestricted Mudharabah ni apa yang saya dah explain tadi lah. Unrestricted investment account is where the investors fully authorize the bank to invest the fund without restrictions as to where, how and what purpose the fund should be invested as long as it's deemed appropriate. So kalau korang tengok unrestricted je, korang tengok tanpa batas. So korang boleh kiranya the partners tu boleh invest in whatever investment project yang mereka mahukan. That one the keyword is nya ialah macam tiada batas lah. Okay, and dia punya mixing of funds from other sources is permitted and separate disclosure in the financial statement is therefore required. So ini adalah cara untuk dia nak recognize dia punya sources or disclosure, how to disclose these types of contract lah kiranya. So dia kena separate the disclosure in the financial statement, and also fund from other sources are permitted. So kena ada fund from the other sources tu lah, and kena separate the disclosure. That one is unrestricted mudharabah, and ni adalah macam dia punya scenario or like situation to portray unrestricted investment account ni. Okay, untuk let's say dia cakap customer rely on Islamic bank's expertise to determine a broad investment mandate. Ya, sebab customer ni, let's say customer ni invest in the Islamic bank in unrestricted investment account. So dia ni customer ni hanya rely on the bank expertise to determine which one investment yang bagus lah. And then Islamic bank may combine investment account funds belonging to many customers with similar risk profile within a single pool or multiple unrestricted account pools to be invested in a group of asset. Bila customer tu dah invest in the Islamic bank, so Islamic bank ni akan gunakan this customer funds yang sama risk dia. Okay, dia akan combine all of the customers from different like account, dia akan combine and dia akan invest this combined funds in the group of asset lah. And the customer are subject to more flexible withdrawal terms compared to restricted account. So dengan unrestricted account ni dia more flexible. So ini pun boleh dijadikan one of the characteristic of unrestricted investment account. Okay, kalau lah in case soalan tanya characteristic of unrestricted investment account, korang boleh mention benda ni lah. That one is on unrestricted mudharabah. Kita move to restricted mudharabah pula. Okay, restricted mudharabah ni is like dia punya like kontra je lah kan. Kalau unrestricted tu tiada batas, restricted tu ada batas lah kan. And dia cakap where the investor restricts the manner as to where, how and for what purpose the funds are to be invested. So the keyword here is restrict. So macam unrestricted tadi dia ada mixings of fund, means the bank boleh campur or combine all of the customer in different account in one similar like mudharabah pool account. Dia gunakan that untuk invest to any groups of asset. But as for restricted mudharabah, dia kata no mixing of funds. So tak boleh dah combine, bank dah tak boleh combine all of the customers account into one, dah tak boleh. And then to ensure, why dia kata no mixing of fund? To ensure proper management and accountability of the fund, one of the reason why, and one of the advantage of the restricted mudharabah juga. And of course dia sama juga, a separate disclosure in the forms of statement of restricted investment is required to be kept by the Islamic bank. Macam tadi dia guna statements of unrestricted investment, but this one kita guna statements of restricted investment lah. Then what is the characteristic or situation to portray restricted investment account ni? Contoh, the funds are invested into specific asset according to the investment mandate set by the customer. So dia ada specific asset. The fund tu dah disetkan by the customers lah. Dia dah setkan, okay, aku bagi duit ni for you to invest in a specific asset. So that is the meaning of the fund are investing into specific asset ni lah. And it's required matching between investment tenure and the maturity of the underlying asset. And the customers are subject to specific withdrawals conditions agreed at inception. So semua yang related with the investment account tu must be like according and set by the customers lah. Itu like the different atau the characteristic of restricted investment account ni. Now, untuk mudharabah yang tadi, unrestricted and also restricted mudharabah account tu, dia ada issues. One is the issues on recognitions of asset and liability. Means when they are invest in unrestricted or restricted account ni, dia ada issues in to recognize the asset and the liability of the company. And one of it juga is the issue on the recognitions of profit, income or losses or the expenses. And dia juga ada issues in valuations of asset. Because apa? Sebab diorang kan nanti customer akan invest in the company, isn't it? Let's say lah untuk yang unrestricted investment tu, kan the bank akan combine all of the fund from the customer dia tu into one investment account. So macam mana dia nak evaluate the asset? Is it macam suitable for this customer A? Is it this asset suitable for customer B as well? So dia macam ada issues lah on that kan. And in terms of disclosure juga, diorang pun ada like issues in to disclose equity of unrestricted investment and also equity of restricted investments account holders ni. Okay, that is the basic issues on mudharabah. Untuk on equity unrestricted investment account, untuk unrestricted investment accounts holder, one of the equity must be recognized when it is received by the Islamic bank. Okay, when it is received, and in case the Islamic bank makes it's a condition that the funds will not be invested before a certain date, then the funds received shall be recorded in the current account until their date of investment is due. So kalau korang tengok kat sini, inilah ada kaitannya between like dia punya investment account with the current account. Korang tengok sekarang kita ni ada dekat investment account punya slide, but then dalam explanation dia ada masukkan juga current account. So diorang sebenarnya ada berkait lah maknanya kan. So in case lah dia kata equity ataupun the shares yang akan invest in the Islamic bank tu, Islamic bank ni ada buat like syarat. So if the funds will not be invested before the certain date, so dekat the company tadi kan memang dah sediakan that account kan, memang dia dah deposit that account in the bank, but the bank ni kata, oh aku takkan gunakan duit ni selagi belum capai that date lah, kira belum sampai that date, so dia takkan gunakan. So that fund atau that money yang the customer dah invest ataupun dah put the money in the account tu, dia akan record in the current account until the investment date tu dah sampai, baru dia akan gunakan the account in the current account tadi tu untuk for the investment project tu lah. That is the meaning of it. And as for the equity unrestricted investment account ni juga shall be measured by the amount received by the Islamic bank at the times of contracting. So macam tadi, dia akan record in the Islamic bank account bila dah receive the amounts of the fund, and bila the contract, investment contract tu dah due, baru dia akan record. Kalau selagi tak record, dia akan masuk dalam current account of the customer. Dan dia juga akan record the amount at the times of the contracting. Bila kata contract tu start on 12 January, but the customer dah, okay, let's say lah, saya tulis the contract date is at 12 January, but the funds dah deposit at like 1st January. So within that time, duit fine yang customer dah pulangkan tu akan deposit to the current account dulu. Bila dah sampai je 12 hari bulan tu, baru dia akan keluarkan this money so that to be invest in the investments project tu lah, ataupun asset, right? And the bank tu should be record the amounts at the contract at the contract date, not at the deposit date, ya. Dia kena record at the contract date. So tu maksud dia tu. And at the end of the financial period, equity of unrestricted investment account holders shall be measured at their book value, and it should not be put on cost lah. Kita kena put on book value. Ini kiranya macam how Islamic banks want to record equity of unrestricted investment account in their book. Okay. And untuk that one in terms of equity, ataupun masa mula-mula diorang nak invest tu, and then kan kita kena record dia punya profit juga, betul tak? So this one is in terms of recording profit of unrestricted investment account. So untuk to record like profit ni, dia adalah related with jointly finance investment. Yalah, mudharabah kan related with partnership contract kan. So bila dia relate in the partnership contract, dia ada kena mengena dengan joint finance investment types, right? So the profit of this investment must be jointly financed by the Islamic bank, and unrestricted investment account holders shall be allocated between them according to the contributions of each of the two parties in the jointly financed investment. So profit memang akan dikira by Islamic bank, right? Tapi ataupun deposit, the profit must be like deposit in the Islamic bank, but diorang punya allocations of the profit tu must be according to the pre-agreed ratio yang dia punya partners tu, account holders or the partners tu dah set between them first lah hari tu. Kan kita dah belajar kan, mudharabah ni diorang kena set dulu dia punya pre-agreed ratio to like masa diorang nak distribute the profit, bila the project dapat profit nanti, right? So the profit tu masa the project making any profit, dia akan di-record by Islamic bank, and after that baru akan allocate to the partners according to the pre-agreed ratio tadi. Okay. That one in terms of losses, that one in terms of profit, this one in terms of losses pula. Sebab dia mudharabah contract, of course dia akan related with a jointly financed investment. where the losses tu resulting from a transaction in a jointly financed investment. So in the first instance should be deducted from any undistributed profit on the investment. So the losses tu akan ditolak dengan undistributed profit of the investment, or any such loss in excess of the amount of undistributed profit should be deducted from provisions for investment losses form for this purpose, and the remaining of loss, if any, should be deducted from the respective equity shares in the joint investments of the Islamic Bank and the unrestricted investment account holders according to each party's contribution to the joint investment. So here korang boleh tengok dia macam like a steps. If kita dapat loss, kita akan tolak this kind of loss first dalam to the undistributed profit. So bila ada selebihnya, ada excess in the unrestricted profit tu, undistributed profit tu, dia akan tolakkan lagi from the provision for investment losses. And bila ada pula the remaining of the loss, dia akan baru tolakkan dengan equity shares ataupun the investments account of the partners tu tadi, kan? Ini like secara teori saja. Nanti korang akan tengok dan cuba buat dia punya soalan lah. Okay, that one is on loss. But let's say lah on loss tu due to misconduct or negligence. So the loss due to misconduct or negligence on the part of the Islamic Bank, based on the opinions of the Sharia Supervisory Board of the Islamic Bank, shall be deducted from the Islamic Bank shares in the profits of the jointly managed investment. Ialah dalam terms mudharabah. Dalam terms mudharabah, right? Sekarang ni Islamic Bank ni is the one yang manage the fund. Islamic Bank is the one yang manage the fund, right? So dia ni adalah mudharib lah. So partners tu tadi, apa tu, account holders. Account holders tu is dia punya Rob Bumal. So that's why losses yang kita dah explain yang ni tadi, right, ini adalah losses yang sebenarnya account holders akan bear the losses, isn't it? So the Rob Bumal yang akan bear the losses. So the losses tu akan ditolak dalam account Rob Bumal tu lah, ataupun dia akan tolak to the profit of the account holders tu tadi, macam yang kita dah 1, 2, 3 kita dah belajar tadi. But kalau in case dia punya losses tu because of the Islamic Bank misconduct ataupun negligence, so dia akan deduct in the Islamic Bank shares in the profit of the jointly financed investment. And in the case of loss exceed the Islamic Bank shares of profit, let's say loss dia 50,000, but profit of the Islamic Bank tu hanyalah 10,000. So the losses tu more tinggi or more greater than the profit of the Islamic Bank tu. Dia kata the difference should be deducted from its equity share in the joint investment, if any, or recognized as due from the Islamic Bank. So macam contoh selebihnya ada 40,000 ni kita tadi kan. So 40,000 ni akan dideduct in the equity share, okay, ataupun dia put it as liability lah of the Islamic Bank tu. So kiranya Islamic Bank ni ada hutang lah dengan si account holders tu, means Islamic Bank ni akan bayar balik 40,000 tu to the account holders later on. Dia kata due kan. And then in terms of asset, liability and equity of the restricted investment account, Yang tadi kita cerita tu semua regarding unrestricted investment account. Now kita go pula on restricted investment account. In terms of equity of this RIA, saya buat RIA je lah, penat lah cakap panjang-panjang. Okay, in terms of equity of RIA, it must be measured and received by Islamic bank. Sama macam UIA tadi. And in terms of asset and liability relating to the equity of RIA ni, shall be treated separately from the Islamic bank's asset and liability. Of course, kalau unrestricted, dia boleh combine the accounts of the customer. Islamic bank tu boleh combine all of the account of the customer. Kalau kata ada 5 customer dia yang invest in the same amount ataupun in the same funds atau in the same risk, dia boleh combine kan semua fund customer dia tu. But as for this RIA ni, dia tak boleh combine. So that's why dia kena buat separate account lah. And dia kena separate kan the fund of the customers with the punya asset and liability. Okay. In case there is like more than one types of RIA in the forms of investment funds or portfolio, so the amount of each types of that account must be like recognized separately. So macam kalau ada 3-5 customer bank tu kena recognize atau kena buat account separately. So customer A je, customer B saja. So dia kena separate. It's not like sama macam UIA tadilah. And at the end of the financial period, equity of RIA holders shall be measured at its book value. Sama macam UIA, diorang measured at book value. Cuma account nak recognize tu mesti separately untuk RIA, but untuk UIA kita kena boleh je mix dia punya account. And conventionally, banks recognize customer deposit as liability. Okay, the banks recognize customers deposit as liability as it is a clear-cut lending activities between depositors and bank. Thus, deposits are clearly a liability to the banks. Ini kiranya as a summarizations of all of the things yang kita dah explain tadi tu. Ada unrestricted, ada restricted, ada term deposit, ada saving and current deposit, ada investment deposit tu semua tu adalah one of the one of the bank's liability. Di mana the depositors tu as the lenders, and the borrower, and the bank tu adalah the borrower of the funds. And the main contentious issues to recognize mudharabah investment account is to consider it as a liability or a kind of equity. That is one of the issues of ataupun in the mudharabah investment account. Okay, so this is like the disclosure in the financial statement. Even though kita dah explain tadi how Islamic banks want to disclose the equity of the certain accounts holders tu kan. So kat sini kita akan tengok macam lebih detail lah in terms of the disclosure tu. So untuk equity of UIA, jangan confuse saya panggil UIA ni sebab ni UIA ni is the unrestricted investment accounts holders. So equity of UIA holders shall be presented as an independent category in the statements of financial positions of Islamic Bank between the liabilities and the owner's equity. So dia ni adalah independent, not consider a liability because it is not consider part of the ownership equity because they do not enjoy ownership right ataupun voting right. UIA ni kan something yang the customer relies on the bank's punya expertise. So dia ni is not like one of the liability of the bank sebab bank ni boleh gunakan the fund untuk invest in whatever asset yang dia suka. So dia bukan one of the obligations pun. So the bank ni kiranya untuk UIA holders is not the liability of the bank lah. And one of it, because there's like no voting right. The banks can do whatever they want with the fund. Okay. And then the information pula on the equity of RIA tadi on UIA, ni on RIA holders pula, shall be presented in the statements of changes in restricted investment and their equivalents of balance sheet or at the foot of statements of financial position. So kalau korang tengok, kalau RIA dia kena masukkan that figures in statement of changes in restricted investment, but kalau untuk UIA, dia orang ni kena masukkan dalam SOFP Islamic Bank sahaja. See, between the liabilities and the owner's equity of the Islamic Bank. So kalau korang tengok UIA, kita kena masuk dalam SOFP sama ada liability ataupun owner's equity. Kalau RIA, dia masuk dalam statement of changes of in restrict investment and their equivalence balance sheets or at the foot of statement of financial statement as well. So kiranya kena masuk banyak lah tempat, bukan hanya pada dalam SOFP saja, but as well as dia punya statement of changes in restricted investment tu. Okay, that one on the disclosure in terms of in the financial statement. And the disclosure also should be made in the notes, right? Oops. In the notes on significant accounts of the percentage of the funds of unrestricted investment account holders which the Islamic Bank has agreed with them to invest in order to produce return for them. So the disclosure in the financial statement, Islamic Bank juga kena tulis dekat notes of the financial statement the percentage of the fund yang agreed between the UIA holders and the bank tu. Sebab at the end of the day, the percentage tu akan produce the returns to the holders lah. So dia kena put the notes in the financial statement.